I'm Stephanie Shea, and I am playing Pokemon Go, and I am on level 25.
What team?
Mystic. Oh my god, this is a Mystic room! Yeah! Let's go take down a gym! There are too many Valor gyms out there. Anyway, we're like above two lured Pokestops. Right now I can only get one of them, so I may have Pokemon Tourette's, which is where like in the middle of talking I'll just shout out a Pokemon name. It usually means it's whatever Pokemon that has appeared. Feel free to catch it if you want to catch it. I am known for doing voices in shows like Naruto, I voice Hinata, and Bleach, I voice Orihime, and Eureka 7, I voice Eureka. I've done some other shows. I did Julie in The Legend of Korra, and I'm currently voicing Katana in DC Superhero High. If you haven't watched that, it's basically all of the DC female characters, villains, and heroes as high schoolers in high school. And it's super, super cool and super cute. And Magikarp. And I was a Care Bear for a while. I was Share Bear. There's a lot of credits online. You could look it up. In addition to doing voice acting, I also am sometimes a voice director. I voice directed Welcome to the Space Show, Paradise Kiss. I voice directed a lot of Resident Evil games. And I do ADR writing. I've written scripts for stuff. I've also cast and produced stuff. So I've done a little bit of everything. I'm trying to think. My first job ever was I'm gonna be an angel, and I voiced a character named Silky, who pretty much just went, all she ever said was, yes, no. And she seemed like a weird, creepy, like, doll. And she had like this guy, big, like, weird, like, larger, like, kind of like clownish looking doll guy. But he was, it seemed like he was controlling her, but it turns out that that guy was the puppet and she was the mastermind all along. She was very evil and crazy. Okay, anyway, so this is my Q&A, which pretty much is just open-ended questions. So you can ask about stuff, you can ask anything, and I will choose whether or not I will answer them. And it doesn't have to be related to anime or any work that I do. You know, you can ask me, do lobsters live forever? And I would say yes. They don't die of old age. They just die when someone killed them, or if they catch like a disease, but they don't actually die of old age. They don't get old. Isn't that crazy? That's really weird, I know. That's why you kind of think, it's my duty to eat them. I spent one panel Q&A talking entirely about this cat disease called toxoplasmosis. You can Google it. It's a virus. It's like half of the population has it. Yep, and it really doesn't harm you. If you're pregnant, it'll cause birth defects, and that's bad. But if you're not pregnant, it just makes you more risk prone. It makes you take higher risks. It makes girls sluttier and crazier, and it makes dudes more violent. It changes your personality, and there's no cure. Toxoplasmosis. Are you Googling it? Yeah. Do you ever wonder where like crazy cat lady came from? It's because she has a lot of cats. She probably has toxoplasmosis. That's why she's crazy. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah. So, I'm a dog person. I voice a lot of cats, but I'm a dog person. Also because like you hear all these stories about dogs, like their owner dies and they like are really sad and they like the dead bodies in the house and they're like trying to go to the street to call people to help their owner and stuff like that, all these, and then you hear stories about cats and like and the old lady dies and the cats eat them. That's why I'm a dog person. All right, somebody had a question I saw. Wait, did she leave? She got frustrated with my cat stories. I think she left. Okay, who has the question? Okay, you over here. Go ahead.
How's working with redoing, how should I say?
Sailor Moon?
Yeah.
Redubbing Sailor Moon. It's really awesome. People ask me, Magikarp. People ask me, oh, what? How did my Magikarp become a Pidgey? There must have been a Pidgey right next to it. That's really disappointing. But for those of you who don't know, Sailor Moon aired like in 1995, 96 or something like that. I was not involved in that production. I was just graduating high school and entering college at that time. And so I was not a part of that at that time. At that time, when they did it, it was very for TV, right? And also people were like, you can't put that on TV. No, Americans don't like that. Americans like this. And, oh no, you can't do that. You can't. Lesbians. Lesbians. Most people don't. Children cannot know that lesbians exist. They must be cousins. Stuff like that, right? So they changed a lot of stuff, and then they're like, what? You can't call a girl fat. Plus, she doesn't look fat. That I kind of agree with. But anyways, so they would cut out whole episodes, and they would change things, and they were like, Usagi? That's no name for a blonde girl. We have to name her Serena, you know, because Americans will not like these weird Japanese names. They will not watch this show, so we must change these names to American names. Anyways, that was the philosophy back then. So the show was really popular, but there are a lot of things were changed. So what happened was at the time too, when they were doing that show, it was based on a manga, right? And the manga was not done yet. So it's kind of like where Game of Thrones is now. It's like they still have to make episodes, but they don't like have official stories. So then we just make up some filler episodes. Let's have a random episode about this monster of the week who's a tennis shoe or what, I don't know, fill in a weird thing. They would have these full episodes. So then after the manga was totally completed and they were like, oh, it's, you know, Sailor Moon, people are really into it. You know, let's redo it. Let's redo it, and this time let's stick to the manga. Let's even change the art style to make the art style more like the manga. And now we can have beautiful CG animation. And you know, back then when they did the TV show, you know, we were on a budget and we had to do a lot of episodes. So we kind of made all the transformations the same. We just reuse the same animation. This time we're gonna make it like very specific and, you know, and do all this beautiful stuff. And we're gonna follow Tentacle. We're gonna follow this. What? No, my box is full. Wait, that doesn't sound right. My Poke box is full. So they. Oh, well, I don't need to have Pidgeotos, right? Pidgeotos are not really helpful. So they were like, hey, let's reanimate it and let's stick to the original story of the manga, and it's only gonna be the manga storyline. And so that's what Sailor Moon Crystal is. So what happened is Sailor Moon Crystal was coming out, and Viz decided, you know what? Let's go look at the rights to the original Sailor Moon. So many of that is not even, people watched it, but so many of it is like unavailable to people now. You know, like there's no, they loved it at the time, but they don't have like the entire series released on VHS. They can't go back and see it in any way. So what should we do? So they decided that they were going to re-release it. And so they're like, you know, back then the cast was really inconsistent because it was such a long-running show. And actually, I don't know if you know this, the original Sailor Moon was owned by 2 different companies. Yeah, Deke, and then, I don't know what the other one was. I don't remember, but it was 2 different companies. There was 3 different Sailor Moons, actually. And there was a lot of the characters. I think Jupiter was only 1 voice actress, but there was 2 tuxedo masks. There was a lot of, so there's like double of everything. And so they're like, let's look at the original thing and let's do it the way it was intended in the Japanese. And we're gonna hire a brand new cast, and they're gonna be consistently the voices of the characters throughout the entire series. So that's what they did, and we got to work on it. And I was never a Sailor Moon fan. Not that I didn't like it or anything, I never watched it. I was in that age where it's like, you know, as a young adult, it seemed a little bit too kiddie for me at the time. I didn't grow up watching it, so I wasn't that into it. I knew it was like a big thing and stuff, but it just like wasn't, I never got into it. I never even watched it, so it's not like there wasn't anything to get into. It's not like I even tried it, you know? But then when I started doing the conventions and stuff, And I started hearing some of my fellow cast members. My fellow cast members, some of them were super into the show. They grew up watching the show. Amanda Miller, you know, who voices Jupiter, was super into the show, and she used to run around the yard pretending to be Jupiter. Like, that was the one that she wanted to be. So it was really like hearing them talk about like how important it was to them, but then also hearing everybody come through the autograph line and see like how important it was to them. Because I think, you know, right now I'm on a show called DC Superhero High, right? And that's like a show and it's a bunch of girls, and that's awesome. But when I did interviews for that, I was still getting asked questions like, wow, this is like a big thing, a show with all girls. It's like revolutionary. And I was like, what? It's 2016, you know? But it's easier now to have a show like that. But you think that Sailor Moon was like created, like it aired in English in 1995, around 96, but it was created in Japanese even earlier than that. So like how kind of, in a way, revolutionary was it at that time? And it affected so many girls. Like literally they were so moved by it because like I never saw, you know, I was into superheroes and stuff, but there was always like one token girl character and the rest was dudes. And this was a show that had, how many, seven, six, like a bunch of chicks. And they all had different personalities. And they weren't like cookie cutter, you know, so like Jupiter's like the really tomboy tough one, but she's also the most boy crazy, you know? So it was really cool, and then like everyone could relate to everything. So the thing that most about Sailor Moon that like affects me is that of how I've seen it affect the fans and interacting with them. I really, now when I go in to do the job, it's like so much more meaningful to me, you know? You had a question back there. Yeah.
So Sailor Moon is such a big universe and there's so many different types of like, different versions of the show. So if you're like a total Sailor Moon dude and you want to get into the show, like what show would you, what series would you recommend you start off with?
Well, in terms of, if you look at it that way, there's only two different versions. There's the classic TV version, which is very long, like 200 episodes. And then there's the latest one, which is Sailor Moon Crystal. So when you hear, if you don't watch Sailor Moon, right, if you hear about it and you hear it's called Sailor Moon R, Sailor Moon S, or Sailor Moon Super, whatever, those are just names of seasons that come later. So if you're gonna watch the TV show, you probably have to start at the beginning of the TV show because they are in chronological order. You won't really understand it. They'll talk about some stuff that happened in the past that you won't really get. So in that case, I would suggest start at the beginning of, you know, if you're gonna do the TV show, start at the beginning of the classic series. If you want a long series, like a 200 episode series, something to get really into, then I would say go ahead and start with a TV show and then do the classic, and you know, I do the Crystal version. But if you just want to watch like a shortened version, because the Crystal version is much more condensed because they're doing it based on the manga, there's no filler episodes and stuff like that, then I would say watch Crystal. The other thing that I would say is the huge difference between classic and Crystal is Crystal's a little bit more grown up. You know, the voices are a little bit more natural. The classic series, it's a little bit more wacky. There's more humor in it. So if you like comedy and like a little bit of a ridiculousness, start with the classic version, because by then you'll love the characters. It gets dramatic, definitely, you know, but then you'll love the characters, and then you could watch the all drama version, you know. But if you're like, no, I want to see the more condensed version, I want to just only see what was in the manga, then watch the Crystal stuff. Yeah. So, what are some of your other questions? Yes, you over there. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Magikarp. Yeah, there's a million. You're gonna get a Gyarados by the end of this panel. Sure. Usagi is very, I gotta say, I think she's kind of like, do you guys know the character Pollyanna? Like, it's dating me. Never mind. It was another movie. But it was such a iconic movie type thing that people would use it as a reference. Like, oh, you're such a Pollyanna. It just means like, she aspires to do good always, right? She also is really stubborn. She never takes no for an answer. So if it's like, this is not possible, she's like, there must be a way. Or I don't care if I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna try hard anyway. She's the epitome of like willing things to happen by sheer willing, you know? If she wanted to like bend this metal thing, she would just try and try and try, you know? And that's her type of, I think that's informs a lot of what she does. She's fiercely loyal, but she does have a temper. And I also think that she sees the good in a lot of people, even in a lot of the villains. So I think that is a big part of her personality. I think there's also a level of innocence in it, because she always approaches things like, oh, it must be a very positive slant, instead of being cynical and assuming the worst or whatever. And I think that sometimes that can come across as being dumb. I don't think she's actually dumb. She's definitely not book smart because she doesn't study, you know, but she is not dumb in that sense. I think she's just more like, oh, I didn't think of it, you know. But if she had to figure something out, she could figure it out. So, I want to see if there's anybody new. Yeah, you over there.
Can you talk about your experience, I guess, doing the voice for Hinata from Naruto?
For Hinata? Sure. By the way, this frittata is a butthole. It's like not even that high, but like it won't get in its stupid ball. So for Hinata, I'll tell you a little story about how I got the part. Okay. So I knew Naruto was like a really big deal, but I didn't really follow it or anything like that. Tentacle. And I had an audition, and I auditioned for it. And I think, here's the thing. I grew up, like, I was like very overweight when I was a kid, and I was really, really shy. So I got picked on a lot. So I know what it's like to be like super, super shy. So I think that's why I get cast to play shy characters a lot, because I'm not just being like, oh, I'm shy. I'm not just like, oh, I'm shy, right? Because whenever I approach shyness, what I'm really doing is I'm trying, in the sense of like, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm not focusing on the not talking part, I'm focusing on the trying to get something out. Do you know what I mean? Because I know what it feels like to be shy, to like want to be included, or to want to be something else, or to want to be better. So I focus on the wanting to be better, the wanting to be more outgoing, the wanting to be able to tell somebody you love them, you know, that's the part that I focus on. And I think maybe that's like maybe the difference, and why I book so much of that kind of stuff. Anyways, so I auditioned for Sakura, I just auditioned for Hinata, blah, 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 blah. And then I went to KawaiiCon, which is in Hawaii, and I'm in Hawaii, and I get a call and said, hey, can you come in tomorrow to do a callback for Hinata? And I was like, oh, I'm in Hawaii, what am I gonna do? I can't come tomorrow, I'm in Hawaii at a convention. And then, by the way, callbacks at the time, now callbacks for anime are more frequent, but callbacks at the time were super rare. And I was like, do a callback? So I was like, I'm really sorry, I can't. And I was like, can you guys wait until I come back? You know, I'm back in like 4 days or whatever. They're like, no. Okay. And I thought, there it goes. Missed opportunity. It's gone. It's done. And then Magikarp. And then they called me after I got back, and they were like, you booked it, right? Or you're on Naruto. They didn't tell me like what part or anything. I knew that I read for various things. And I told my friends who like watched Naruto and stuff like that, and they were like, oh. And then they were like, they actually said to me, their exact words was, "I hope you don't get Sakura." And I'm like, what? Why would you say that? She's a bigger part. She has more lines. They're like, "Hinata's a cooler character." And I was like, you know, I was like, she barely talks. So then I found out I booked Hinata, super excited. And I was gonna go into work, and then I get a thing in the mail, and I have jury duty. I have jury duty the whole week, and in that week, my first session, Psyduck, there, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I get called, oh, he's only 13 CP. I get called up into the jury box, right? And I'm like, there's no way, I cannot get on. I cannot get assigned on the thing, or else I miss out on my job and blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't know what to do, and they ask you like who you are, you know, what they ask you like, what do you do? Who here has done jury duty? Right. You get up, they ask you, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Do you have any prejudices? And I wasn't about to be like, yeah, I'm a racist, or yeah, I don't believe in death penalty, or yeah, whatever, like say something weird that's not true. But I was like, I just can't do it, okay? Like I literally, after they got through it and like said all your, they like went through and they asked all your interview questions and stuff, then they had this thing where they were like asking, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, and I went in there and I was like, I can't, and then I broke down in tears in the jury box, and I started crying, like really, like just like crying, and the judge was like, come to my bench, and he called me over. And I was like, it's a job, and it's just a word, you know, and so he was like, okay, he's like, I'm gonna do this the one time, but I'm never gonna do this again. And then he's like, I'm writing you deferral. Doesn't mean you don't have to serve, that this will be for like 3 weeks or whatever like that. And he was like, and so I went home, and I wasn't on the thing because I burst into tears. Because I didn't want to, I was afraid that I would lose the job. Anyways, that is my Hinata story. Funny story about Sailor Moon is Magikarp, is that I also, for Sailor Moon, auditioned, and I auditioned for all of the Sailor Guardians, and I submitted in, and then I was in Hawaii again at KawaiiCon, and I got an email that said, can you come back for a callback for the show Sailor Moon? And I was like, I'm in Hawaii. And I was like, I don't get back for a week. Can you just, I can submit an audition from here. Can you give me notes? And I'll do that. Or do you want to do a phone patch? Can I, whatever, you know. And they're like, it's fine, it's okay, never mind. And at that point, I didn't even know what part it was. And I was like, oh God, I think I just screwed up, you know. But I was like, I'm in Hawaii, I'm gonna have a good time, whatever, I'm not gonna think about it. And then when I got home, they were like, we decided to use you anyway. And I knew that I was going in, it was like severe NDA, like we couldn't talk about anything. I knew that I was going into work, but because they were like crazy NDA, like can't talk about anything, I was like afraid to talk about it with anyone, right? And then, and I didn't know what part I was playing, but I was afraid to ask. Because it's like, don't talk about it, no. And even like when I found out some people were on a show, like they'd be like, oh, I'm really excited, I'm starting a new show. And people would be like, is that the show that you're going to work at Studiopolis that you can't tell anybody about, that you have to be available to be at AX to promote it? You're like, it's that show. And they'd be like, okay. You know, even though we all knew we were on the same show, we never said the name. It was like Voldemort. It was like you couldn't say the name. And I was directing Robbie in a movie called Fatima Inverted, which, by the way, if you've never heard of it, it's an awesome movie. It's a really, really awesome movie. It's about a world where there are people who live underground who have the opposite gravity of the people who live above ground. So there's people like us. Like it'd be like there was underground people in the center of the world, and they lived there, but their gravity was like this. And this little girl, and she like gets curious about stuff, and she like, in her world, looks like there's this hole, and they say, you guys don't, they tell people don't ever go there, and she's very curious, and she's worried, and she falls, because she's being chased by something, and she falls through all the way into, boop, the regular one, she starts falling towards the sky. And there's a little boy there, and he has to grab onto her like this, literally. They're like connected, like she's holding onto her and she's upside down, but like falling up, you know, and he's like grounding her, weighting her and stuff. Anyways, it's a great movie. It's called Fatima Inverted. Anyways, Robbie's in it, and I was directing Robbie. And Robbie, it was his first anime job. He had done a bunch of other stuff, and I knew Robbie from doing other stuff. And he was like, oh, it's really great that I got to work on this because I feel like this is a practice thing because I just booked a job, and it's an anime, and it's a series, and it's like a really big deal, and I don't want to mess it up. But now I feel better because I now did your movie, and I can, you know, it's like practice on it. And I was like, oh, cool. Is it that show at, you know, the thing you have to be at AX and it's at Studiopolis? He goes, yeah, it's that show. I'm like, oh, congratulations. And I said, well, I guess I know who you're playing because you're playing like the guy, I guess. And he's like, yeah, I'm playing the guy. Like no one's saying anything, right? And then he was like, do you not know who you're playing? And then I was like, no, I don't. I was like, do you? And he was like, no, right? And so when we were recording the extras for the DVDs and stuff, like we're like talking about this, and we're talking about like, oh, it's so funny. Before record, this thing happened. We're telling the story, and then Robbie, if you guys have the DVDs and you get the extras and stuff like that and watch it, he on the thing was like, actually, I'm gonna confess something right now. I knew, and I was like, what? You knew the whole time? He's like, yeah, they accidentally emailed him the entire cast list. He knew everybody in the cast. But then he was terrified because he signed NDAs. He's like, well, if she doesn't know, maybe I'm not supposed to tell her. I'm not going to say anything, right? So he didn't say anything. And actually, they never told me, I think because they just forgot. I was doing some Naruto the day before my very first Sailor Moon session. And I was blah, blah, blah. And then Jamie, the studio owner, is like, all right, see you tomorrow. And I was like, huh? What? I'm seeing you tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, for the Sailor Moon session. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right, you know, and I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and then he leaves, and then the door opens a second later. He goes, did I ever tell you who you were playing? And I was like, no. And he goes, oh, you're playing her. I was like, huh? I was like, you know, her, the Sailor Moon, you're playing Sailor Moon. And then he just leaves. And I was like, oh, and I was just like standing there like totally shocked. Anyways, that was a very weird. So I guess the moral of the story is I should go to Hawaii more because what will happen is they'll ask me to do a callback and then I won't be available, but I'll book it anyway. What other questions do we have here? You in the front here.
Have you heard about how Lucky Star, Heart of Suzumiya, and now soon Code Geass are going to be, are and will be available again to...
Funimation's like re-releasing them, right? Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Like, I was thinking, how did the closure of Bandai Entertainments, which made all those stuff, affect the voice acting scene in LA and for you?
I mean, it affected us a lot. It was very sad for me because I was really good friends with a lot of people who worked at Bandai. You know, we go to conventions, you know, when we did K-On!, you know, we hung out with them all the time. You know, they were the ones who had the brilliant ideas, like, we're gonna make you cosplay as your characters and make you sing, learn Japanese phonetically, and make you sing to a karaoke track and play air guitar, and it's gonna be awesome. And you know what? They were right. It was awesome. It was tons of fun. I really, really liked, we would always call it the Bondi Boys because there was a bunch of guys who worked in marketing. But it was very, very sad for me. And I think for a while it did affect, you know, it was less work in LA. So yeah, it was really sad. But all those guys, you know, they have other jobs now, and some of them are even actually even happier. One of the guys, he works at a pretty famous film production company, and he was like, he was getting paid much less because I've discussed this before in other panels and stuff, but there's not very much money in anime. They're just everybody who works in anime all across the board get paid less than everybody else who does the same thing. Actors who work in voiceover or in other stuff that is not anime get paid way more than anime voice actors. Anime gets paid the least, and most voice actors don't even want to do anime because it's not worth their time. Agents don't really handle anything in anime because they make 10%. That's how they get paid, right? But 10% off of what you're making in anime is here's $5. like they're not gonna work for like $5-10, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So it's the same way. Marketing people, they have the smallest salaries in anime versus any other thing. Production people, they're all working tiny anyways, and they work long hours because they love the job and they work their butts off, you know? And that's why I think that a lot of people who work in anime get really upset about the pirating and the illegal streaming, illegal downloading, because it's literally affecting their job, you know? They're struggling in life because someone says, yeah, I don't want to pay, you know, $40. I just want to watch it for free all the time. And it's like, well, okay, great. And I'm busting my butt here. And it's because of you, because you just didn't want to, you know, you wanted to steal it, you know. So, but anyways, my friend has another job and he was like, whoa, it's like amazing. He's like, he works way less hours and he makes way more money. So I guess I can't. There's always some good in things, bad things that happen. You had a question?
Yeah. How soon after the release did you download Pokemon Go?
Let's see. I think it was less than a week. It was like 6 days or something like that. Yeah. I have friends who work at the Pokemon USA. And I will share with this room that a lot of the Pokemon, not all, but a lot of the Pokemon cast is Mystic. And a lot of the Pokemon, like the people that I know who work at Pokemon USA are Mystic. But they can't promote one team versus another team, but you know. I used to play Ingress, but then nobody played it. Like so then I gave up, you know, but I was like, come on, play Ingress with me, come on, no, it's a portal. Oh, come on, my portal's like, you know, but it was like, so anyways. If you want more Pokestops in your area, you got to download Ingress and play Ingress, because you can create portals. So all of I don't know if you guys know, who knows about Ingress and Niantic and all that stuff. Do you guys know anything? All right, sorry for the guys who know. The one guy that knows. Niantic created a game called.
Hours of my life.
Is what?
It was too many hours of my life. I'm pretty.
So you don't even play Pokemon Go then?
No.
Oh,
My
okay.
daughter does though, so I drive around for her now.
Oh, all right. So Ingress is still a game you can play, and there's like two factions. It's green and blue, and you're like you're either trying to like enlighten or like whatever the two. It was like I don't remember the teams now. It was like it's resistance and enlightened, right? So the resistance is I'm gonna like fight the establishment, and the enlightened is like, you know, so it's like this battle. It's like it's only two sides, right? And what would happen is you can walk around and collect stuff, and then there are these portals, and then you could collect items, and then you can even build portals and suggest portals. But it was through Google, right? So you had to have like a Google account, and they used basically the map. And Ingress players could create portals at landmarks. If there's a statue, so if you look at Pokemon Go, most of the Pokestops are like a museum, a statue, a fountain. They're landmarks, right? The reason is because Pokemon Go is built on the backs of Ingress. It's basically Ingress Lite. It's kind of like Ingress with a Pokemon skin. I mean, it's not entirely true because you can do more stuff in Ingress. Like you can't create Pokestops in Pokemon Go, but in Ingress you can do that. And Ingress has more of a story element. I'm actually in Ingress as some doctor, but I don't know when she appears. And when I played Ingress, I never heard any voices. Did you ever get to a point when you were like hearing characters and stuff like that?
No.
But that's a part of the game. I know that because some of the actors that are friends of mine have like really big parts in Ingress, and they do alternate reality games where they go and they fly them to locations and they do live Ingress events where they play in character and they do conferences and stuff like that in character and stuff like that. My character was like a small character and stuff like that. But that's Ingress, and it's also created by Niantic. And so when they were asked by Pokemon Company, Pidgey, to do that, they basically kind of revamped Ingress and made it Ingress Lite, you know, and made Pokemon Go. What's your question about that?
I had a question, but then you're talking, made me think of something else.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's because you're so passionate about the culture, and I'm an actor, and I know that you can't be too big of a nerd when you're on set, like on a TV, a film set. Like I did see with Bruce Campbell, I can't be like nerding out Bruce Campbell. But it seems like is voiceover more friendly to fans? Because you seem like such a big fan.
I seem like such a big fan?
Yeah. Is it held against you in voiceover? Do you have to pretend like you're just an actor, you're a serious actor, or are you allowed to like, because you're at Sailor Moon now.
Yeah.
It's like a big deal.
Okay, I think that you always have to be professional. You can I think there's a difference between getting excited about something, because let's face it, we all watch movies and whatever, and I was into a little bit more geeky stuff when I was younger, but I think nowadays a lot more geeky stuff is more mainstream. So it's okay, you know? I think the problem is when, if you go into a session and you're working with somebody who did something like really awesome and really famous, right? I think it's better if you really feel motivated and you want to say something to them, right? It would be better like Bruce Campbell, whatever, because you said, let's say you work together. I would say work together first, so he has a basis of recognizing you as a peer, and then maybe at the end, I just wanted to say this, and you know that I watched a lot of your stuff growing up, and this is like a real treat for me to be able to work with you because I really enjoy your work. Simple like that, simple compliment. If you're the guy who's like, oh my God, it's just like, I was blown away because and then it starts making the other person uncomfortable, you know? Because then you're like, whoa, I don't know you. We worked together just for like maybe a few hours, but it's like, I'm not gonna be your best friend. Like what, you don't know, you know? Like the crazy fans out there, maybe they're like, it's, you know, you don't know if you're crazy or not, but also it just seems, you know, I always think that like you flip the tables of like, how do I want to be treated, you know? And if it would weird you out, then maybe not so much, you know, maybe don't do that. So.
Like I guess were you intimidated by becoming Sailor Moon? How familiar were you with the older portrayal?
I wasn't really familiar with the older portrayal, and I think it really helped a lot that there was more than one person. I think that if there was only one girl who portrayed her, then it would be much more nerve-wracking for me. I also think it helped that there were other aspects of it that made sense for there to be a new cast. It had been so long ago that like the cast is much older now. They don't sound the same, you know? They weren't only just doing a new cast, they were changing the lines, and they were doing more episodes, and they were doing unedited episodes, so it made me feel better. Nowadays, I can't say that about this when I was younger. When I was younger, I'd freak out about a lot of stuff, like overthink stuff and blah, blah. But the older I get, the more I get to let it go, because it doesn't help me, you know. Also, very, very early in my career, the very first time I worked with Mary Elizabeth, I got fired. It was for an Appleseed movie, and I got fired, yeah. I got fired, I went in, I was doing the voice of, is it Hitomi? Is there a Hitomi character in Appleseed? And it was a very soft kind of voice, but she needed to be authoritative, you know. And we'd, you know, do some lines and be okay. Then sometimes we get on somewhere and we got stuck on the line, and we're doing a lot of takes and stuff. I started feeling like really insecure and like, you know, and then she'd say this and I'd try it again, but she's like, it sounds the same. And before my session was over, we took a break, and the producer pulled me out, and he sat down. He's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? I was like, okay. And he goes, I'm really sorry to say this, and this is rare in my, 20 years of dubbing anime. I've only ever had to do this 2 times before, but I think I'm gonna have to let you go. It's not working out. He's like, I take responsibility. We made a mistake in casting you. And I'm really sorry. It doesn't mean that I won't bring you in again for other stuff. It doesn't, so you don't need to worry about that. And then, and if it makes you feel any better, you're in very good company. And the 2 other people who I've had to do this to were Dave Wittenberg and Crispin Freeman. And if you think about it, Dave Wittenberg and Crispin Freeman, are you kidding me? Who wouldn't kill to have those people's careers, right? So he was so nice about it. Of course, I went home and I sobbed my eyes out and cried and cried and cried and cried. But as anything that happens in life, right? If you have like something that's like sad or upsetting or what, there's a potential for growth and a lesson there. And the thing that I learned that dawned on me and that I realized is that as I was doing the session, I just kept thinking about it. What was going, I knew it was not going well. I knew it was not going well. I was so sweaty palm and nervous performing, like it was feeling sick to my stomach during the session. Like I knew it was not going well. I knew that was coming. And I was like, I'm struggling and I'm trying so hard and da 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 da. Why didn't I get it? Why couldn't I do the thing? And I realized, I think when I thought about like all of Mary's directions and comments and notes and stuff, I thought to myself, I think she wanted this like sense of authority. Because even though he told me it's like very feminine, she was also an official. She was an officer. She has some kind of training, you know? And I think she was lacking that thing, that the sound that had the confidence and that the authoritativeness, even though she was super feminine. And thinking about it, I thought, well, I felt so crappy about myself. No wonder I couldn't act confident. Are you kidding me? Oh, no wonder I didn't sound authoritative, because I literally felt like so small and like insecure, like on the verge of bursting into tears. That's how I was feeling. So how was I supposed to perform that when I felt like the complete opposite? But why did I feel the complete opposite? Is because I was judging myself so hard. I was putting so much stakes. It's my first time working with Mary Elizabeth. Oh my God, Mary Elizabeth is this thing, and like, oh my God, what if I fuck this up? Oh, sorry, pardon my French. What if I, like, you know, what if I screw this up? I worked myself up. And anytime, instead of focusing on the acting and just focusing being the character, I was literally like, do you think, is that okay? Is that, like, inside my mind was like, validation, you know what I mean? Like, I psyched myself out. I deserved to be fired. That was all my own doing. And it really didn't have to do with my acting ability. My own ego got in the way of my job. I was no longer doing my job. I was too obsessed about worrying about how I came across, you know? So in response to your question about that kind of stuff, is I've gotten to a point that I'm pretty calm about some things. Doesn't mean I don't get nervous. Like sometimes, yeah, I do get nervous, you know. But that lesson is a lesson that I learned and it stuck with me. And I think it's a lesson. It's a good lesson. It's a lesson for anything in life, you know. Don't psych yourself up, because I did that to myself. That is taking full responsibility. It was all me. I messed up, you know. So I have learned to kind of just like let it slide off my back, you know. It either is or it isn't. You know, and if it's good, awesome. And if it doesn't work out, okay, you know, go on to the next thing. So there was a thought of it. I remember Michelle took me out for my birthday, and the first thing she said, we had not started recording yet, but we had both been cast. And, oh no, maybe we started recording maybe one session. And the first thing she said when I got in the car, she said, are you ready for all the haters? And I was like, what? No, oh my God. Like it was like that, you know? But then it was like, and then I just pushed it out of my brain. And the very first convention I did was Anime Expo, and everybody who came through to autograph them was so nice that I was just no longer worried. Yeah. So, yes. Yes. I'd always wanted to be an actor. I never wanted to be like specifically a voiceover actor. I just loved acting. I actually want to do more TV and film acting. Actually, I still do, but I don't get hired for those jobs. And when I was a young actor, I was pursuing everything. I also was an anime fan. I liked anime, but I did not watch dubs. I did not like dubs. I did not think dubs were very good. I watched the subtitle version, and because, as we talked about, like, you know, earlier when I was younger, I had very low self-esteem. I was not confident. I was going to an audition, like auditions, like the idea of auditions freaked me out, you know. But because I thought dubs were so bad, I thought, I think I can try that. I can be at least that good, because I don't think it's that good, you know? So weirdly enough, that gave me the confidence to pursue it. Yeah. Oddly enough, my lack of self-esteem is what led me to anime in a way. So, any other questions? You over there?
What would you say is the best and worst part about being a voice actor?
The best part about voice acting for me is the job. The actual acting part, I really enjoy. I love acting. It's so much fun. I love it, love it, love it. What is the worst part? The worst part of it is probably like the politics. There's politics in terms of sometimes who gets cast or how much people get paid, and I don't like dealing with that stuff. You know, I'd rather just like do the work and get paid, but it's not as it's not as simple as that, because you do have to like establish like how much you're worth, you know, because there has to be an industry standard. And if you're just like, I just do it for the love of the job, I will take anything, it screws it up for everybody else. It also is this weird thing where like, if you are being nice and you say, I can do it for cheaper, you know, or I will be cheaper than I best because I'm being a nice person. It doesn't really matter how talented you are, but people then think of you as less talented. It's a really weird thing. It's a thing that happens in all forms of freelance stuff. You know, you think, hey, I'll be cheaper to get the job, and then they'll see how good I am. But that's not the real world. Instead, they'll just think, that guy's a cheap guy. I use him for cheap projects, you know? And meantime, sometimes you'll see people and they're not that good, but they're like really expensive. And then people are like, that person's great. They use that guy. They're expensive. They're the top notch, you know? But it's their actual quality may not be as good. So I would say that's what it is. You had a question in the red?
Yeah.
By the way, we're getting pretty close. There's only 10 minutes left, so just warning. Yeah.
Two questions. One, when it comes to just voice acting in general, do you usually get it on the first take, or do you just have like bloopers? Does it just depend on like?
I think it depends. It depends on how lazy my mouth is that day. It depends on how easily that character comes to me. It's gonna vary. It depends on if I have a cold, I have whatever, and it also depends on the director. If the director is very picky, if the director and I are very on the same wavelength of communication, it depends. But I don't count how many takes because it's not helpful to me. The mindset of counting takes is what gets me into the problem of where I got fired. You know what I mean? I think that I'm here to play. Every single time I get to do a new take, it's an opportunity to do it again. I get to act again, yay! You know what I mean? And for the new actors out there, that's how you should treat auditions. It's not an audition, it's not like a competition to get a job. It means, hey, I get to perform, and I get a mini performance. I'm doing a private show, and I'm gonna have fun doing a private show for somebody, you know? And if you do that, and you stop worrying about all the consequences of what this means and whatever, you'll probably do better. Any other questions? Oh yeah, second question?
You said you were a dog person. What kind of dogs do you like?
I like all dogs. My dog is a mutt. My first dog I ever had was a Norwegian elk hound. I love my current dog, but he's not at anything. So I can't like get another one of him because I don't even know what he is. I love the way he smells. He smells like ramen. That's what I think he smells like.
Is his name Ramen?
His name's Ippudo.
You should call him Ramen.
Well, Ippudo is a ramen restaurant. So, and he's just so sweet, and I love Ippudo. Anyway, I don't know. I've met great, all sorts of dogs. I love the way corgis look, but corgis are stubborn. I used to dog sit a miniature dachshund. Dachshunds are also super, here's the thing, the smarter the dog, the more a pain in the ass they can be. Unless they're really well trained. Unless you're firm or somebody else has already trained them. But they can be. Penny, I love her to death. She was hilarious. She was so, she was technically, because she was a female dog, but she was also, I remember one time, and are you guys into the cosplay community? Do you guys know or follow cosplaying or anything like that? There's a cosplayer named Meg Turney. Do you guys know Meg? Meg is my former roommate. Penny is her dog. So when Penny lived with me, she hated me. And I think it was a competition thing. You know, like, I'm the alpha. And she knew that I was like owner of the house and stuff. But then once Meg moved out, and you know, she would travel, go to conventions, do whatever. She's like, you want to look after Penny? And I'd be like, okay. And then once I was looking after her, she became totally different. We like totally got along. She was so sweet. She's more emotionally smart than my current dog. My dog, like, there were a few times I had Penny and I was going through some really rough personal stuff, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd just be like bawling, crying. And Penny always slept at my feet. And if I was crying, she'd come up. And she didn't do the annoying thing, which is like dogs like lick her face or whatever. And so I think she knew that it was annoying. She'd just come and then just like laid her cheek right on mine, and then until I fell asleep. And that's it. And she was smart. Like if I was crying or upset, she would come to me and like snuggle. My dog, when I'm crying, he's like, like, what are you doing? Like that. I sprained my ankle really bad, and I had off of my ankle for 3 months. And when I sprained it, I was screaming in pain, tears streaming. So what happened was, you know how like the tripod is like, you can see like slanted like this? There was a microphone stand outside of my booth, and I did an audition, and I came out, and I didn't notice I stepped on the triangle part of the tripod, and I was wearing flip-flops, and I rolled my ankle over it. I was screaming in pain for like 20 minutes, and my dog was on the couch, and he was just like, he didn't even get up. He did not even get up. He did not get it. And I actually had to I couldn't walk for a week, and I couldn't even like exercise or anything for like 3 months. And my dog was like, didn't even register that I was injured at all, just kind of like stared at me. So I don't think he's as emotionally intelligent. Penny was super emotionally intelligent, but she would also do things like what she wanted to be let out, and then I was like working. Like, the funniest thing is in the middle of the night, like she likes like all the lights to go out and stuff like that. And if I'm working on my computer, I'm not ready to turn off the light yet, you know. And she sleeps under the covers, and so she'll come out and she'll be like, you going to bed? You stare at me, and I'll look at her and Penny, and I'll be like, no, Penny, not yet. And then she goes under the covers, and you can hear her go like that. She's she was so funny. She was really, really funny. And then one time I was like working, it was the middle of the day, and she like wanted to be let out or wanted to play, and I was like, whatever, I started ignoring her. And then she like left. So I let her roam around the house, and all of a sudden she came right up to me and she went, and I was like, that's weird. You've never barked at me before. So I was like, okay. So I put my laptop down, and I followed her. She walks into the kitchen, and there was like a big steaming poop there. And she looks at me, and she looks at her poop, and she looks at me and goes, like this. Most dogs would be like, oh no, I pooped in the house, oh, I'm so embarrassed, don't hit me. But she was like, I'm upset at you, so this is what I left, and it's for you, because I'm upset at you. That's Penny. Anyway. We probably have time for like one more question. Who hasn't asked one yet?
Me.
You haven't asked one? Have you asked one? Okay, we're gonna get these three and then that's it. Okay, yes, your question.
Is there a way I can take a picture of you?
Sure. I have to rush off to something, but just like at the end, just come here, have your camera ready, know who's gonna take it, and we'll do that.
Okay.
Yes, you were there.
How was it voicing Nui in Kill la Kill? Because, you know, she's crazy.
She was a lot of fun. She was a lot of fun. I like crazy characters. My favorite characters are the ones that are like completely insane. Yeah. She's probably, no, I've voiced some other insane. Like, I think Akira is pretty insane in Lucky Star. Penny in Zatch Bell is also very insane. So I realized I do a lot of like dual personality characters. Penny and Zatch Bell, Hara and Gu, Akira, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yes, you.
In regards to Fuliguri and playing Mina, when you were shown to character and played her, what was sort of your reaction and your emotional perception of a character who is somewhat mysterious and has particular traits?
So Mamimi and Furikuri, I produced that. So I cast and produced and I wrote the subtitle script, not the ADR script. I watched the show because we had like rights to it, right? And I watched it in Japanese, obviously, because there's no English version and subtitled. And the character that I gravitated toward and I related immediately was Mamimi. I thought her character design was amazing. I thought her voice was really interesting, but I also felt like I could do that voice because like it already naturally kind of sounds like me a little. I'm very nasally. There's a lot of this thing. Like if I do this, it kind of, you know, like this is Mamimi's voice. And it's very unique too because it means a lot to me that like haven't really used that voice in anything else. It's so distinct, you know? When I was working on the subtitles and I came home, and I was working on it on a computer over Thanksgiving break, my mother overheard it and she was like, "Oh, that girl sounds like you." And I was like, actually, it's the other way around because like I'm gonna do the voice of that. Anyways, yeah, and it was the one character that I wanted to audition for, and I asked, can I audition for it? And I was very nervous. I didn't audition for anything else. It's the one character this is the thing. This is the one character I really want. And I auditioned, and it was Mark Handler, the director, Maki from Production IG, Shizuki from Sync Point, and they sat there, and I went in and I did my read, but I also worked there, right? I did my read, and then as soon as I finished, Maki from Production IG goes, "It's yours," like, but without consulting anybody. It's supposed to be like a group consultation. She's like, "You're hired," and then I was like, and I looked at Mark and I looked at Shiz, and they were like that, and so then they just stopped reading. They stopped reading anybody else for it. And then when after work, my roommate also worked at that company and was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." I was like, ah! I was like this, because I was like, I think I was like 26 or 27 at the time. I went, ah! I was like really crazy. I was like, oh my god, if I never get any other single part ever, I will be happy, you know? And then I paused and I was like, well, I mean, I don't want that to happen, but I would be happy. So, yeah, so that was my story. All right, it is 7:15. Thank you guys so much. Have a great one. And we're getting into real quick.